It's the beginning of another beautiful week, so let's jump into yet again another Transformer Slag podcast Patreon listener question. Once again, if you want to be part of the Transformer Slag Patreon, help support the podcast, let us know we're doing a half decent job giving you the daily news and Transformer information around the world. Patreon.com/Protoman. What does it get you? Well, it gets your name in the end credits scroll at the end of every segment moving forward. If you join the Patreon, help support us, send us a few bucks. Depending on what tier you're at, you might even get access to the Discord, which we have a whole bunch of cool stuff there, a lot of fun, a lot of news breaks there. And of course, just like today, the Patreon listener question. We got a Patreon listener question from Guido, or Guido, or I don't know how it's pronounced, but I apologize. I think it's Guido. And Guido wants to know, hey Proto, over the last few years, figure modification seems to have grown into mainstream collecting circles more than it ever has before. Things like third-party accessory sets or full-on replacement parts exist for figures like Studio Series Shockwave and the Titan classes. Even mainline figures are modified, like swapping the spider legs on Black Arachnia, the Kingdom one I assume he's talking about, or fixing the pegs on Grapple, I'm going to assume the Earthrise he's talking about. How do you think that part swapping is going to affect the secondary market on these figures in 5 to 10 years, especially regarding the line's completists and vanilla collectors? Many thanks for what you do, Guido/Guido/ I hope I'm saying your name right, brother. So, here's the thing, right? I feel that the first part you said here that it's grown a lot into the mainstream. To a degree, I still feel that the upgrade kit, third-party kind of vibe of the Transformer collecting world still really is a minority compared to what is the larger picture of product that's sold. You know, it's like the saying, for those who know, they know, but there's a lot that don't. And I still feel that there's a lot that don't. I do feel that there's a lot out there more than ever. I mean, looking back at the early days of like 2006 with Fans Project and upgrade kits, and even before that in 2004 with Wonder Festival and those like, you know, handmade stuff. Yeah, it's insane compared to today where everyone could get a 3D printer if they have a little bit of talent and patience and really put out products and not need to have any kind of molding or factory kind of situation like it was just 10 years ago. So yeah, I do feel there's a lot of that out there. Just any quick search on eBay, you could find fillers for all kinds of parts and custom weapons and all kinds of crazy stuff. If you're someone that's looking for alternatives for your Transformers in terms of accessories, now's the time more than ever. But that being said, I do feel that, and the question really that lives in this statement here is, how do you think the part swapping is going to affect the secondary market in 5 to 10 years? I'll tell you this from experience, living it, literally from its birth in those early years of Wonder Festival and then moving forward into all the other stuff with what Fans Project did. In the short term, there's a monetary gain. And I'll just use some past examples and then some recent examples. Past examples, you know, City Commander upgrade kit to Ultra Magnus. You know, the Protector Fans Project kit to Classics Rodimus. And even more so the Shadow Scyther one, but that has to do with lower numbers. I don't want to use, you know, Munitioner and Explorer because those are standalone figures, but they also kind of count as upgrade kits. But, you know, even like Shadow Fisher, which was this upgrade kit for the Energon Bruticus Maximus that then made, you know, our better Bruticus later on. All of those increased the value of those figures individually, but also increased everything as a whole when they were packaged all together and sold. And then I see 5 to 10 years from now, like you just said, people can't get rid of their, like I see people literally sell their Protector armor with Classics Rodimus figure and no one's interested. Even if it was like, you know, at its peak, a Classics Rodimus on its own was selling for like $70 to $100, the Henkei one even more, and then getting those trailers on their own was like, you know, between $60 and $100 depending on what person you were buying from. Now you can't sell the entire package together for maybe $60 and $100. So It's something that the way I really see it in a lot of ways is that I don't really see in the long run those values being maintained. Even though, like, you could quantify it where it's like, okay, well, if you take, Black Arachnia and swap her spider legs, you had to buy 2 separate figures. That other figure was a 4-pack, and you had to spend a lot of money to get that 4-pack. So technically, this Black Arachnia with the new swapped limbs should be worth way more than what her secondary market value would normally be on its own. You are correct. But as time progresses, people are going to want those minty, complete, virgin vanilla, if you will, versions of those toys. And there'll be less of an interest in that of the modified ones, primarily because, and this is a big problem that's always existed in third party, sooner or later, Hasbro does it right. First of all, sooner or later, Hasbro does it. That's the first thing. Or sooner or later, Hasbro does it right. And in the case of does it at all, it's literally any third-party upgrade kit that gives us something of a character that we didn't have before, like Ultra Magnus with his armor, or a Rodimus Prime character, or a proper Combaticon team. In the case of doing it right, any upgrade kit that just kind of fixes a character and gives it the proper colors or the proper weapon or the proper this, because Lord knows we're going to see those same characters and trademarks every 4 years indefinitely until the world becomes an empty husk and all that's left is the sand, the pyramids, and a bunch of Transformer toys in plastic in the sand. That's going to be my Mad Max future. Either way, point is that I don't really think that there's going to be much of an increase. And I also speak of experience from it because, going to TFCon all these years and talking to dealers all these years, and TFCon especially is more so the hub for third party than that of what BotCon was in the past years, which BotCon I was going to for decades. But TFCon, you walk around with the dealers, on the Friday when they're setting up and you're having conversations with them. And one of the common things that I would see is that when there's old third party stock, like old stuff, that's like, a year and a half old or 2 years old, it's no longer the new hotness, they can't get rid of it. People are not interested in those upgrade kits. People aren't interested in those modified, hacked up figures anymore. They want whatever the new hotness is, either new hotness third party or even more so new hotness official. Never forget, more people wanted to have Combiner Wars Devastator than any third-party version, whether it be Giant or Hercules, which in my opinion, even though everyone wanted that Combiner Wars one, the engineering on Hercules and Giant was way more superior, especially on the individual robots and stuff. But people wanted the official touch, the virgin touch, the vanilla thing, no messing with it. So I feel that the life cycle of a lot of these kind of like replacements, third-party accessories, filler parts, people are going to not want that. In the same way that, another one is repro labels. People are not a big fan. Like the purists are not really a big fan of repro labels. And when they know that there's repro labels on the figure, they kind of get rid of them. They don't want it. So, and that's when the figures start to really get old. And when you mention 5 to 10 years, people might look at like early classic stuff that came out in 2006, 2007, 2008, and 2010 that's going to have all these upgrade stuff on it, but they're not going to want it. They're going to look at it and go, oh, that's great. You got like the upgrade weapons for, Smokescreen and Prowl from Universe 2.0 in 2009, 2010. And they're going to be like, that's super. And then they're going to turn around and buy Earthrise versions, Masterpiece versions, or anything else. And that one, even when it's decked out with all that extra stuff, isn't going to be worth not even half of what was invested, which is going to be sad when you think about it. So that's just kind of my take on it from my own personal experience. I find that third party, while I appreciate the engineering, the ingenuity, the creative stuff that so many people do that even me, I wouldn't be capable of doing because I just don't have that kind of talent in that specific area. At the same time, it just doesn't have a longevity. It's sad that it kind of needs to have that Hasbro blessing, and then it kind of becomes eternal, where at least 10 years from now, 15 years from now, people could look at old toys and go, oh, that was the original version of that. And, I'm willing to pay that. But when it's like a 3D printed upgrade kit for like, I don't know, a Cyberverse figure, they're going to be like, yeah, that's great and all. But, You know, it just ends up in like a giveaway bin or something. And again, that's another thing too. TFCon, when it comes to their charity auction and the amount of third-party upgrade kits that get donated, and we can't even get rid of them. We have to like bunch them all up into a giant lot and fire sell it. You know, I mean, it's tough. I appreciate what's going on. Some of the stuff that's done is really cool. Don't get me wrong. I have some of my figures. I made my own kind of version of Prima, and I had to find obviously a third-party 3D printed sword with the Matrix of Leadership in the chest, a really good one on eBay. And you know, it sits on my desk and it looks really cool. So I appreciate that. But I'm one person. And I will not use my one-person example as a reflection of the entire fandom. I rather use the examples that I have walking through this fandom, multiple dealer rooms over 2 decades, and talking to dealers and seeing what goes up, what goes down, what are people interested in, the charity auction, which is the ultimate barometer of what people care about and what they're willing to give away. Year after year after year, which is absolutely fascinating. And it's such a shame we didn't get a charity auction this year because of the Big V, because it would have been cool to see like, what came from Siege and Earthrise that would have been dumped on us now in the face of, let's say, Kingdom and now the coming Legacy. So, I mean, that's just my small take on it. Obviously, people are going to have different opinions, and that's totally cool. But I just feel that in the long run, a lot of those upgrade kits and stuff like that, people are not going to care. And they're going to want the minty original figures. They're going to want the factory setting rather than the upgrade kits. I mean, this goes, even like people were selling upgrade heads for the original Generation 1 Ironhide. So your original G1 Ironhide could have a head instead of just the original sticker face chair that it originally had. People don't care about that stuff anymore. They rather just have that ugly Ironhide toy because it has that charm and that representation of that early beginnings, that Diaclone beginnings in 1980, in this case 82, 81, but later 84 with Transformers. So I hope that answers your question a little bit. I know it's kind of like, I don't agree too much, but at the same time, I hope it answers your question and kind of gives people an idea of the long run. Don't buy for secondary market value. Buy for your own personal enjoyment and making your figure a better experience, if anything else. And again, all the talented people that are 3D printing out there, my props to you. You guys do amazing work. Amazing work. Absolutely insanely amazing work. And I hope it only grows and gets better as that world grows and continues too. Let me tell you something, Hasbro's paying attention to it, so you should be proud. Either way, guys, hope that answers your question. And if you want to be like one of our patrons here today and ask a Patreon listener a question, or you just want to come join us on the podcast, join us in the Discord, have your name in the end credits, or you just want to support us, throw us a couple bucks. Again, patreon.com/Protoman, or check the pinned comment or the description below. And rock out with the robots in disguise.